reasons why I hate when people kind of hate on Batman and Robin. Now, right off the bat, I'm not going to kind of sugarcoat this bitch. Batman and Robin is not a fantastic movie. The reason one of the reasons particularly that I kind of hate when people hate on Batman and Robin is particularly because I feel like they don't understand what Batman and Robin was supposed to necessarily be. Now, granted, as I said, Batman and Robin is not a fantastic movie, but if you understand where Batman and Robin was trying to come from, it wasn't trying to be a very dark and brooding Batman and pretty much just like clickbaiting your ass into buying a ticket. It pretty much was trying to take an homage from the original TV show, and that's kind of my next problem. A lot of these kids, or maybe even some adults for the most part, or young adults, whatever, they pretty much never actually seen the Adam West TV show. Now, I have seen Adam West TV show. I have the 1966 movie, and I fairly enjoy it. Now, if you know what that type of style is, and you understand completely the goofiness or whatever it may be, then you get what Batman and Robin is supposed to be, right? Now, granted, Batman and Robin has a ton of problems, and we get that. We know. So when I see people kind of bitch or complain for the most part, still in like, the movie came out in 1997, right? We're in 2016. So when I'm seeing people doing like rants on Batman and Robin, I just kind of be like, really? You still haven't let that grudge go? I know some people that just kind of let it go and be like, now I kind of accept it for what it is. And I think a lot of people just kind of always see it as just like that, you know, bad apple, so to speak. And it pretty much is. But you also got to realize one of the biggest reasons that kind of contribute to Batman and Robin is just that if it wasn't for the big disaster of that film, we wouldn't be where we are at today. This Friday wouldn't have never happened if it wasn't for Joel Schumacher's fuck up. So you have to kind of look at some of the nice things. Overall, Batman and Robin has some actually interesting stuff to it. Like for one, Poison Ivy. How the fuck did you expect Poison Ivy to be? Really? She's pretty much a crazy bitch that just like Earth Day every fucking day of the week. And Uma Thurman, I think, actually did a decent enough job. Now, granted, Joe Schumacher pretty much gets, you know, always like the shaft in a couple of these things. And for the most part, he kind of deserves it. Now, granted, Batman Forever was a much better movie for the most part. But Batman Forever also had a big personality disorder. Doesn't know if it want to be dark. Doesn't know if it want to be campy. This one pretty much stayed true to the campiness of the TV show. And for that, I actually don't hate Batman and Robin. Now, granted, I've never really hated it per se, and I know people are going to be like, what? You're nuts. Now, for me personally, I look at Batman as Robin as a great comedy, and it quite frankly is. Some people just kind of look at all the negatives, even since 1997. I just be like, why don't you stop trying to be a little bit negative and try to look at some of the positive? This thing is actually quite funny and quite hilarious. And if you actually have seen the TV show, as I mentioned before, then you probably understand what this was trying to go for. Now, granted, George Clooney and his bobblehead is quite frankly terrible, and Bane and a whole bunch of this shit is pointless, but kind of just keep on nagging about it in 2016 to me really doesn't make any sense. Joe Schumacher is actually a decent director, and it's a shame that just because he put bat nipples on the Batsuit, that's going to be slightly his claim to fame now. He's actually made good work. He made Tigerland. He made Phone Booth. Those are actually pretty good movies. If you haven't seen them, look them up. He's also done a whole bunch of other solid films. It sucks that that's kind of the whole thing, but there's constantly people always kind of bitching. My whole point of this is that a lot of these fans or whatever, I think you need to appreciate where Batman and Robin was kind of trying to come from. Now, granted, as I said, there are a lot of fucked up things in here that really don't make a damn bit of sense. But for the most part, I think they actually succeeded as to what they were trying to go for. Because for people being like, I hated this when it came out, I hated it, blah, blah, blah. First of all, call me crazy, but didn't you see the trailers in the movies? Then you kind of see what it was. I'm pretty sure the trailer showed you exactly what you're kind of getting into. So therefore, you kind of complaining doesn't really make any sense. And my next thing is why I kind of hate when people hate on is that people say it's one of the worst movies ever made. Look, I don't think it's one of the worst movies ever made. I've seen way worse movies. The Adventure of Pluto Nash is way worse than Batman and Robin. Believe that, right? So overall, Batman and Robin is not the worst movie I've ever seen, nor does it really deserve too much of the hate. Is it deservedly so in some points? Yeah, maybe for the few years after it. But for the most part, Batman and Robin is an enjoyable enough comedy that I kind of get kicks out of because I paid attention. Or for the most part, I respected where Batman kind of came from in the first place, which is the 1960s Batman. I say, if you haven't seen 1960s Batman, watch that, then watch Batman and Robin again, and tell me that it's a real shit fest of a film. For the most part, is it all over the place? Is it campy? Yeah. But for the most part, it's just a fun enough movie. It's stupid. It's dumb. Yeah. And it's not very good. But it still is kind of a very campy movie that probably shouldn't have came out in 1997 because this was in the 60s anymore. That's kind of what the next big problem really is, just in general. But overall, Batman and Robin really doesn't deserve too much of that hate. Especially now. It's like 2016. Get over it, people. Move on. Clooney moved on, and he's still apologizing for some reason. Uma Thurman, for the most part, slightly moved on. You know, everybody kind of moved on. It's just kind of like the fans constantly bringing up, yes, they fucked up. George Clooney was a terrible Batman, but he wasn't a terrible Bruce Wayne, per se. There's actually some good things in here. It's just that people constantly just look at the negatives. instead of looking at the positives. And that's not really a good way to kind of judge any film. You know, keeping a grudge since 1997 on a movie. I hate to see how you do, like, if somebody, like, pisses you off in a relationship or something. But overall, does it deserve the hate? Yeah, on some things. But for the most part, I don't think it deserved the hate still to this day. Just watch Batman and Robin, and then also watch the 60 TV show, and then tell me that you can't appreciate Batman and Robin for the terrible, disaster, campy fucking film that it actually is. But yeah, so that's my reasons, I guess, for the most part, if it was just a jumbled up mess. But yes, that's what it is. Comment, subscribe, like. I'm Chris Smith, and I'm signing out.